What's going on now, Lorna? All right, greetings. All right, Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres, and this is going to be show number 1. And the purpose of this is to come on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday on Baker's Green Acres YouTube and talk about the things that are being brought to us in the Anyone Can Farm tribe. Okay, so to make this make a little bit more sense, our farm is called Baker's Green Acres. See that? That's our logo right there. That's one of them. That's probably the oldest logo that we have. And under Baker's Green Acres, so I'll draw this out for you. And this is what I'm thinking. All right. And okay, this might go backwards. Yeah, it is. Son of a gun, it's backwards. All right. This is BGA, Baker's Green Acres. And then right now we have Anyone Can Farm, ACF, and that's kind of what I do around here. That's facilities, animals, processes, work, share a lot of information on there and goes and do that. And then Abundant Living is Jill's thing. You gonna stand there and watch me or what? Okay. But the parent here is Baker's Green Acres. That's where it all began. And that started when we lived in Montana. We had a 13-acre place there, and it was kind of a joke. I had a few chickens and a few things like that. So it was actually kind of a joke because we had friends that were real life farmers, and I had this little 13-acre place and some chickens, and then I got a couple of pigs, and I got some beef cows, and I did what I could on that place, and we actually had a lot of fun. I was active duty Air Force at the time, and I liked what I did on my farm a whole lot better than what I did on my regular job. So when I retired after 20, I had the opportunity to move this state to Michigan and get this farm, and so we did. And that was 16 years ago. So we were commercial farmers for about 14 years, and that was a process of finding our way because it wasn't staked out very well. We had to kind of feel our way through it. And just recently, we've become homesteaders again, and that's where we don't have any licenses through the state. We don't sell to any restaurants. We don't sell to any retail stores. It's all just we support ourselves and we support other families. Month after next, I'm going to be turning 60, and we would like to be able to go around a little bit and show people how to do things. We've kind of done it informally, and that's what the Anyone Can Farm has wound up being, almost like a training entity. And it wasn't really intended to be that. Anyone Can Farm was actually kind of a joke too. Way back, I'd say 10 years ago, I would get a lot of phone calls about how to do stuff, which I didn't mind. But it distracted me and I couldn't get my work done here. So what we had a loose plan to, YouTube was just coming out then, or at least in my life anyway. And it was like, hey, we'll make a video how to do this, post it on YouTube, and you can just tell people go there. And that only works so well, because there's a lot of details that you need. And so we started doing classes on the farm. And to me, old school type guy, that's how you do it. When you need to learn something, you go to somebody's place to see how to do it. Doesn't work in today's world. Plus, I live in the boondocks here in northern Michigan, and everybody else is really spread out. Our community is not that big, and it wasn't then. It's getting bigger now. You have more millennial types that want to live more intentionally and be in touch with their food and all that good stuff, which I totally get. And they are disconnected more than I am from the people that knew how to do this. My grandfather and his father. My dad didn't do this. So anyone can farm was kind of born. And then we discovered training via the internet. And at first I thought that's a waste of time. No one's going to want to do that. But actually it works out pretty good because you don't have to make plans to come here for an hour. You can just go in the house, sit down, and you're on. I don't have to take a shower before I have a room full of people here. I can be doing something and just jet out here and sit down and I'm good to go. And I'm used to it now to where I actually enjoy it. So we started doing the Wednesday night, and that would be me and Jill. Jill would have the laptop over there and questions would come in. I'd answer the question and it's going out to, 50 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. I started getting more phone calls, right? And I'd say, hey, I'm gonna have to maybe open up another night on here. But then we thought, wait a minute, we'll start up a Facebook page, the Anyone Can Farm Tribe, and that way people can bring their questions there, and we're getting more people in this that know how to do some of these things. They've heard it preached to them. They've gone out and tried it. They do it a little different than we do, but it's a pretty good group of people. I'd say it's an excellent group of people. I got a story to tell you, but I'll tell that in a minute. I'm a big storyteller. So the tribe became kind of a cool thing. Wow, we got 200 people. Wow, we got 300 people. We got over 400 people in the tribe right now. And it's quite active. People are talking on there and they're sharing their things that they're doing. And it's becoming a going concern. So then for the last couple of weeks, I've been getting questions on there, and they're legitimate questions. I mean, they're legit. And I'm thinking, okay, let's just write those down and we'll answer those questions on Wednesday night. It's too many questions, too many people. It's doing too well. So here's what I want to do. I want to sit down for an hour, 90 minutes, something like that. Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. It's just me. I don't have to have Jill tied up. It's just me and Jill's phone. And then I'm going to open up my phone and go to the tribe. Now, I realize a lot of you aren't on Facebook, but I'm going to go to the tribe and I'm going to do the best I can to go through these posts and give what information that I have on it. Some of it I have no information on. I have not done it. But there's people in the tribe that have, and as the conversation goes, now you can ask questions on here and it scrolls up right about here. And I'm not a real great multitasker when it comes to this stuff, but if you put it in capital letters, I might catch it. If not, and you are on Facebook, go on over to the tribe and ask the question there, and maybe we'll catch it Wednesday night. I don't know. Feeling my way through this, but I'm willing to do it. And here is why I would do this. You might be saying, why in the heck would you do this? Why don't you go watch reruns of Oprah, which I do regularly. when you're talking YouTube and Facebook, all right, what I would like to have happen is I would like to have YouTube open the floodgates. They have throttled my channel for a long time, and it's because I was not playing nice with the Attorney General and the Department of Natural Resources and Department of Ag. I think that has something to do with it. And I talk about the Constitution now and again, and I think for whatever reason, we've been throttled because the content is really good. If you go over to Baker's Green Acres YouTube, there's all kinds of content there that is, well, I wouldn't say it's really good, but it's decent, and you can learn things there. It's been categorized. Our IT friend has done that. Actually, our kind of our business manager helper type person, and so we're hoping that we can get the throttle off of us and we can grow this. So when you do this on a Monday night and your watch time goes up, so I have no idea how many people are on here right now because that thing has not proven to be very accurate. But if our watch time is pretty good, then YouTube says, hey, we're going to open this up. We're going to suggest this to other people who have done a search on homesteading, small farming, how to butcher pigs, how to butcher chickens, things like that. And then our channel will be suggested to other people, and people will subscribe, and it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think there's a purpose for this, where you have so many people that are interested in it. I'm sure there's a purpose in it. And also, there are strength in numbers. When we come together, we have more of a voice when it comes to things that have been, injustices that have been done to farms. I mean, I've been the focus of that, and several other farms that I know of have really gotten beaten up hard by state entities, and you don't know what to do, and it can be scary. But if you have a fellowship like this of people that have been through that, there's some simple ways to work around it. So that's one facet of the tribe. The other is instructional. The other is, you get to show off your stuff. It's fun. You get to hang around with people that are geeked about these type of things like you. It's fun, and who knows where it will go. Okay? So I'm going to back up a little ways on the tribe. And I'm just going to, I can't go back to the beginning, but I want to go back to a place where I really wanted to say something for me to communicate via typing on this little stupid thing. Doesn't work out so good. So relax, get yourself a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and then I'm gonna go to it. I haven't seen any questions on there yet. There's enough content here to keep me busy for quite a while. So let's go. Okay. I am backed up as far as if you find this broken tractor picture, if you find it, wouldn't it be cool if I could split screen and have this on there? There's probably a way to do it. I could probably just hold that like that, huh? Or maybe I could get a mirror. All right. I'm going to go one on our side of that. And this is from Brittany Annette Pierce. And Brittany's been with us for quite a while. Let's see. I don't know. It doesn't say on here how long she's been with us, but she's been pretty active. And, you watch people's posts and you get the feeling of what they're doing. She's asked quite a few questions of me and Jill, and we try to do what we can. She's way over there in Minnesota, and she's been with us for a while, and I think she's taken some of the things that we've said to heart. And the other day, she put this post up and it said, "Thank you, Mark, for the thought of trying to find a bread source. We managed to score one. My Dodge journey is filled full. Only room for me and hubby, 6 foot full." Oh, yeah, all 6 foot full. All right, so one of the things that we talk about in homesteading, or just plain old living, is scrounging. And I love scrounging. It's one of my favorite. I have a lot of things that I really like to do, but scrounging is really up there. And okay, Lone Star, I saw you. Hold on. And I've made videos before about stuff that I've scrounged, and it falls in line with something that I've said many times during my time in the military. Was a good non-commissioned officer, NCO. I was a non-commissioned officer by the time I got out. A good non-commissioned officer learns to use anything that's available to him to accomplish the mission, right? And I can tell you a story about that, boy. But I don't want to go off on too much of a rabbit tail. So I feel it's the same way in farming. If I find a pile of wood someplace, boards, and I'm working on a project and I need some boards and I'm able to use those and I don't have to go to lumberyard and buy them, I'm ahead that amount of money. Now I can use it on something else. When I'm feeding my animals, if there's a brewery someplace and they're throwing out a bunch of spent grains and all I got to do is go and get those and I can feed them to my pigs, I'm ahead that amount of money. I may have to invest a little bit of time and a little bit of elbow grease to get that stuff. And I may need equipment, scrounging equipment, trailers and trucks and stuff like that. But it frees up my dollars to do other stuff with. So whenever I see, I'll be driving down the road and I will see a big chunk of metal laying on the side of the road that's fallen off somebody's truck. That's dollars right there, because I keep 50-gallon barrels down there that I put holes in the bottom of. And when I find steel, or I am working on a project, or somebody gives me a piece of equipment or something like that, and I have no use for it, I cut it up. And then about once a year, I load it onto my truck, one of my scrounge machines. I go to the scrapyard, go through the scales, cha-ching, they write me a check. It's right over by my oldest son's house. I stop and have a cup of coffee and things are good. All right. So it works. And some of the checks that I've gotten there have been, over $250. I got a pretty good sized truck. So then I can take that money and I can spend it on things that push my agenda forward. and that could be buying roses for my wife, if I've been away too long or something. It could be anything. I can use it to push things ahead, tools, materials, things like that. So scrounging is huge. So when I see somebody that's new in farming, and Brittany and her husband are new in farming, I think, because they're so attentive to what we say, and they post pictures on there with their smiling faces and the back seat full of bread and maybe ho-hos and stuff. It looks like it came from like a Sara Lee place or something like that. It warms my heart. It really does, because they're moving ahead. Now, if it's ho-hos and ding-dongs and, stuff like that, we've been in the homesteading business a long time. We got into it because we want to feed our kids good stuff, right? So I probably wouldn't want that stuff coming to my house. I've had it before. I've done that. And I probably would opt for something else if I found something else. Right now, I got a great scrounge deal going right now, and it's not a bunch of real sugary stuff. but that's what they found. So I wrote in on the caption, "Score, proud of you, real proud of you." And somebody wrote in that this is not human or animal feed, in my opinion. But what do I know as a lifelong farmer? Okay, and I know where he's coming from. But what does that do to those young people? You know, they've just posted pictures and they've posted their smiling faces, they're happy. And then a lifelong farmer says, "I wouldn't feed that to my pigs. You need to take that back, throw it in the dumpster." Wrong. That is not the way we mentor our younger troops coming along. You know, excellent. What we say is excellent, good on you, way to go. And as they progress down this road of homesteading, small farms, whatever, they will be exposed to that. But you don't want to scare them off from the next post. All right. I was on and I feel strongly about this because I was on a group and it was all people that are into what I'm into. I grow Mangalitsa pigs. So I joined this group. Every time I posted something, somebody would correct me to the point where one of my kids was doing something and didn't have safety glasses on. And I was corrected that the kid didn't have safety glasses on. And one time the kid was in the field with no shoes on. Oh, that's not, there's a time and a place for that, but just this automatic, oh, I got to show how smart I am by correcting this person. I don't think that's productive. All right. So how can you possibly tell Brittany to press on with pride, without being able to talk about it that way? So I want to do that. And Brittany, I want you guys to keep it going. I mean, don't let up. Whatever you do, don't let up. Keep going. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, the next one was actually last week. I felt strongly about coming on and talking to the younger troops, the younger people. I mean, a lot of people are new to homesteading. There's 400 and something people on here, and say, hey, I don't know if you've heard this, but there's an epidemic going on over in China right now, and it's got about a 27-day incubation period, and there's about 20 cases in the United States, and the supply chain has slowed down, and a lot of our stuff that we rely on comes from China, and if there's a big hiccup, it could cause us some problems. So what I think we should start talking about is preparedness, right? We're in the farming business. Should we prepare for spring? I think we should. Should we prepare for winter when it's fall? Yeah. So preparedness is a part of our discipline. All right. So I just thought that we should talk about it and field some questions, and people had asked me on there what I do. And for me, my farm is different than your farm. Some of you may not have farms. Some of you may be in town and, hoping for the day that you have a farm. I was there. And this information is still pertinent. You're just not there yet. But if you want to be there, you will be. Just stay with it. So for me, I said, my number one is fuel, and I have what I refer to, I got this from being in the military, is a 24-hour list. Excuse me. So if I get notification that, hey, something's going to happen and you should be prepared, then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on of things that are integral to what I'm doing here, and I gotta move on those things. And I said in my video that even if I'm topped off with fuel, I'm still going to get a little bit more. If I can, I'll top off my vehicles and stuff like that. So for me, I need diesel fuel if the power goes out and my pump's not working, I would need diesel fuel to run my generator, which would run my pump. And then I have tanks that I would fill. It's not like I would run the generator, power goes off, generator comes on, and it stays on until the power comes on. No, I don't do that. And I don't recommend that you do that either, because you have no idea how long the power is going to be off. So let's say that the power goes off and I kick the generator on. I will fill everything that I have that water will go in, because my cows need water. They need a lot, and my pigs need a lot of water, and everything else needs water. We need water and all that stuff. So that was what that one was about, and we did have a lot of spirited discussion on that. And just because that was last week and this is this week, I don't think that you should not be talking about that, because since that, I have received intel almost every single day. And the only intel that I'm going to share with you is when it's somebody that I know that calls me and says, I have a business contact here. I called him and he said, we can't get any more of these parts to you because, that town is in lockdown and there's no manufacturing going on. So I know that there's been a real hiccup in manufactured goods coming out of China. Is the China syndrome going to come here to the United States? Well, there's 20 cases in the United States right now, and I heard that just this morning on the news. Okay, so it is here. But then there's a lot of things that you need to get smart on that, like how to prevent your exposure to it. But that may be the least of your problems, is what I'm saying. The manufacturing hookup might be a bigger problem. Okay, so that's what that was about. And I think you can go back and you can read a lot of the questions in there. I am a prepper, but I used to be called a survivalist. And I tried to tell folks the reason I'm like this is because I went in the Cub Scouts as a little kid, 3rd grade, I remember. And, it's all about be prepared. Boy Scout motto, be prepared, right? And then we had good scout leaders, excellent scout leaders, and they would take us places and help us to find out what it's like to not have the things that we were used to, right? And then I got in the military, and because I was a prepared person and I had been a scout, it moved me forward, and I was offered jobs that the average bear wasn't offered, and preparedness was the name of the game. And I've told this story before. I went on a deployment that was supposed to just be about a week. I was a young airman at the time, I was told, take 6 MREs with you in your pack, and there was going to be kind of a long walk with that and a lot of stuff. And I'm thinking anything I can do to save weight, because I didn't want to work too hard. Well, I didn't bring my MREs because we probably were going to be bringing them back. And usually when we'd gone on these excursions before, just trainers, they bring food, good food. And so I figured I wouldn't eat them. I'd play it smart. Well, the airplane that was supposed to meet us there broke and didn't come till the next day about 4 o'clock. Now, I didn't starve to death, but I was 24 years old, and that was my first experience with I might starve to death, and being a little or kind of hungry. Now, there was food there. Could I go to my sergeants and say, "Hey, I didn't bring my food. Can I have some of yours?" I wasn't about to do that. Not at all. I didn't want anybody to, "Hey, how come you're not eating?" I didn't want anybody to say that to me, because I didn't want to have to say, "Well, I didn't bring mine," because that would be like saying, "Well, I didn't bring, other essential equipment that you're supposed to have." So that's my story about that, being prepared. And I think that should be something that we talk about a lot. From that conversation, I've gotten other about, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? Um, I think preparedness is just part of it's just part of our life. If you are prepared, you are in a rested state all the time. You are ready. You're calm. You're not gonna, oh no, I hope that if the power goes out here, it does not phase me. It did when I first got here. I first started this farm. When you've got 10 cows that all need to drink 5 gallons of water a day, yeah, it stressed me out. Doesn't anymore. I got 3 generators, and now I've dug a pond, and so it's really not going to phase me. I'm big on redundancy, and redundancy is, if I don't want my pants to fall down, I wear a belt, and if I feel that the belt may fail, then I put suspenders on. So I've got 2 layers of safety. Okay, I will leave that one there. Wow, look how much time goes by. It is already 1/2 past. I got to do some catching up here. Okay, the next one, this is great, and I'm prepared for this. One of our people, she's been with us for a long time. Her name is Becky Perkins, and she lives around here. I haven't met her, but this is the next thing we have to do. We have to have like a tribal, like a powwow. We all bring everybody here so we can get together and meet each other, right? But Becky Perkins has been around a long time, and she's been a big supporter. A lot of the people that I know through Facebook and stuff, they came alongside of us during our struggle with the DNR over the feral pig thing. So she came on the other day and she said, "Hey, would you mind if I shared some information about wild harvesting?" We call that foraging, all right? But wild harvesting is, you're heading to the woods and you're finding stuff that you can utilize. And I mean medicinal, I mean food, I mean tools, I mean recreation. There is an abundance, an absolute abundance of stuff. And it's all over the place. I mean, it's in the woods, right? So Jill's thing is abundant living, right? And if you follow Joel Salatin at all, he did a TED Talk and he talked about the abundance of our life, the abundance in farming. If we don't try to conquer the land, we just try to steward the land. It gives us so much, and that's partly what the tribe is about too. I think it denotes a little bit of Native American roots, right? Tribe, and they lived with the land. They didn't try to conquer it. They lived with it. They took what they needed, and that's the spirit that we're looking at right there. So anyway, Becky asked me if she could do this, and I said, like, by all means, that is, it's not scrounging something that somebody threw away in a dumpster, but it is something that's been provided for us, and it's not like you're going to be competing with most people for the things that you can find in the woods. All right. And I can tell you some of the things that we scrounge in the woods. But Becky's first post, I will read it to you, and I hope and I'll show it to you. That is a Chaga fungus, and the picture's not really good. It doesn't look the right color, but I'll show you one right there. Okay, because we're really into it. And Chaga, let me read this. Mark's being prepared video and discussion about Willow Bark Tea gave me the idea to expand on preparing a home remedy apothecary. I have been wild harvesting for about 25 years and found many helpful herbs and plants in Michigan that are very helpful. With spring around the corner, it's time to stock up before spring through chaga is something that is harvested in wintertime. Chaga is a fungi that grows on trees. It is best in winter because the butylin, the medicine, is concentrated within the fungus. When it is warm out, the butylin moves throughout the tree and reduces its benefits. Finding chaga has become challenging as its popularity is blooming. I mean, how many people here knew about chaga? And once found, can be challenging to get as it can be 30 feet into the tree up in the air. It is only harvested off birch trees, though it grows on poplar, oak, and butylin is a property of birch. Okay. And she goes on from there to tell some of the really cool stuff about it. And she even said, I got this. I told this to Jill this morning when I read through this. It's a pretty long post. Because you will see them out in the woods. They're on birch trees, white birch trees. And when you see them up high, it's like, well, what am I going to do? Cut that tree down? You know, you have to be, I don't know, you'd have to be a monkey to climb up there and get it. But she says, take a 22 rifle and start working it off. And that makes a lot of sense. And, you know, you think of a 22 as a target rifle or for shooting squirrels or feral cats or something like that. But it's actually a tool when you want to project a piece of metal to do something, to move something. It's actually a pretty handy piece of equipment. So chaga, all right, you need to look into this. I could probably have Becky on, and this is where we're going, like a split screen with Becky and then her giving a commentary on what chaga is good for. This is very beneficial for a lot of things, a lot of really bad things too. So in the spirit of things, I asked Jill if she'd make me some chaga tea tonight. And so this is our little thing. You can put tea leaves in there, and then you hang this over the side of your cup like this. Ain't that cute? So I could tell you the color of this is light brown. Smells really nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I need to do more of that. One of my favorite teas around here, Jill makes Willow Bark Tea, right? And so what's aspirin made out of? Willow bark, right? And when you make willow bark trees, she'll give me a hard time if I get a headache and I take 5 aspirin. Oh, that's too many. But willow bark tea is like 15 aspirins, and it's good for what ails you. It knocks it right out of you. Saturday night, I was here alone, working in my back room, finishing up some drywall and things like that. And I went out. I was going to go over the greenhouse, and I forgot that there's ice. You know, it was melting. And I went out. I had a bottle in one hand and a piece of wood in the other hand, and I went whoop, boom. I fell in that exact same spot like a couple years ago. This time I hit my head, and I hit my back. I got soaked. There was a lot of water on the ground, and I was here alone. And the next day, I was having a rough time getting out of bed. I slept terrible that night. Got up. Jill made me some willow bark tea. And I was on it. Knocked it right out of me. All right, so that's chaga, and I really can't give you a whole lot more information on that, um, but I think you can go and find it. But I'm really thankful to Becky Perkins for that post. Really nice for her to do that. And then she's put up another post since then about other things, and it's very good information. Okay, then the next post. This is going to take a while. This is from Rachel Jamerson. She's a friend of ours. She lives about an hour northwest of us. And this post has to do with microgreens. Okay. Yeah, low tech, not so good. But microgreens, this is something that we started doing this year. Actually, hold on. I'll show you something. And it really started with the tribe. People were posting things about microgreens, and Jill does the Abundant Living class, and part of what she's learned in that class is there's a life force in everything that we eat. The Hippocratic Oath says, let your food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food, right? So if you're eating dead food, you're not getting any life force out of it. You're getting less nutrition out of it, less mineralization out of it. And your body, believe it or not, is made to regenerate itself, but it's not going to do it if you don't give it the right stuff. And giving your body the right stuff while you're carrying a child is imperative. And so in the wintertime, what do you do for live food? How do you get live food? All right, you go to the store and you go to the nice section there at Myers. They got some great looking stuff. I go there all the time. But if that stuff was harvested, in South America and then hauled up here and it took a few days to do it, is all that life force there? The answer is no. I mean, they're making a valiant effort, and I definitely appreciate it. I'm not throwing stones at them. So if you've got to do that, if you've got to overcome that, and you've got to produce some food at your house that's got some life force to it, how are you going to do that? So one of the best ways, and Jill learned this from her grandmother, she used to do it all the time, is sprouts. So those sprouts right there are corn. So we grew, and we've done this for a long time, we grew popcorn. And this year, the kids planted it in with the sweet corn. So it cross-pollinated, and all these kernels, which I've got a whole bunch of them, we've got 2 jars of them right there, 2 1-gallon jars. They don't make really good popcorn. So, we wanted to utilize them for something. So they've been grinding some and making bread out of it and things like that. But I said, hey, maybe you could root some of that, and it might be good. So there it is. Those are microgreens. So you can clip these off and eat them. These are extremely sweet. I decided to take some of them and put them in potting soil, see what happens. And it's mostly an experiment. And I got in the mail a grow light from a guy that lives north of me, and he just decided he wanted to contribute something, and he sent me a grow light. And it's like this guy kind of specializes in this stuff, and this grow light is unbelievable. Look, it's on in the back room. That's what all that bright light is. And I'm not going to go into that today. I made a video of it today, and I'm going to tell more about it in my next video, and that'll be on the tribe. And I'm also going to let you know how you can get those lights. This guy is actually a contact, because the components for these lights come out of China. So he told me how you can throw one of these lights together for very inexpensively, but what goes wrong, and how to make them in such a way that they're going to last and be bulletproof. And it makes total sense, with the background that I have. When he explained it to me, it makes total sense. But they're all LED, so you don't have a tremendous power bill for what you're doing. Lorna's asking me, how do I eat microgreens? How do I eat them? You want me to eat one, like as a demonstration? I can show you. I put it in my mouth and I chew it, and then I swallow it. You can eat the root and you can eat the seed, but I'm not going to eat the root and the seed. But the top, it's great. You can clip a bunch of those off, put them in a bowl, put lemon on them, put oil on them, fork, eat them. Today, Rachel made me a sandwich for lunch, and she put a bunch of those on, and it was really good. Those sprouts, are corn, probably not the best thing going, but seeds are really cheap. So you can go with radishes, you can go with alfalfa. I mean, can you do that question again, Lorna? I didn't actually catch that. It's really small on the screen. All right, so Rachel was putting pictures of her sprouting activities, and then she went into some detail about what she's using and stuff like that. Okay, I got a question here. So how did you eat the microgreens? Like in a salad or what? Yeah, okay, well, I think I just answered that. Okay. Now, we're just starting to get into this. With this grow light, I plan on growing a lot of stuff in the house. And Jim is the guy that sent it to me, and he said, normally these grow lights go to people who are growing marijuana with them because the return is so much more on it. He's making them available for $250. And time will tell. I just plugged this one in today, but I think the guy is solid, and I really think that his product is solid too. So if you want one, look at the video, and then you can contact me. Or I think he said he's going to send me an email, and he'll have his contact and info there. He is a finished carpenter, but he does this in the wintertime when things are slow. So that's how it is. I talked to him today for about an hour on the phone. Very interesting guy. Does a lot of things. A lot of things. Okay, let me get back to the group here. I don't know if I've missed any questions. All right. Okay, there was another guy that's in the group too. His name's Andrew Cross, and he posted much further back. He seems sort of like a professor of microgreens. He seems like he's got a lot going. I'm not really that versed in it. Okay, and here's Brittany Ann Pierce has got another question. I'm going to run through this real quick. Curiosity question. How many here have been in the military? My husband has noticed that a few of the YouTubers we follow are vets. My husband is also a veteran. We came up with the theory that anyone that's been in the military has basically seen how the sausage is made. I like that. And wants to be self-sufficient and wants the government to stay out of their life. Sorry if that makes sense. I'm blaming it on baby brain. So Brittany's getting ready to have a baby too. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that at least for me, military was a lot of exercises. U.S. military is really good. It's the best in the world. Like there's nobody. We're like the NFL, and there's nobody else. So um, you do a lot of make work, and you go through a lot of exercises, and you sharpen and you hone, and you're always doing that. That's a good thing. That's how you build a winning team, and we bring a lot of that here too. Um, but when you have 20 years of it, you kind of want to do your own thing. I know I did. And when I got out of the military after 20 years, and then I came into a civilian community, all of a sudden I'm the new guy. And I didn't like that. And there was a saying that a friend of mine coined, or a kid that worked for me actually coined. Is that my second duty assignment, and he worked for me, and he was going to get out. And I said, "How come you're going to get out, man? There's a future here for you." And he says, "I'm tired of working for people who are dumber than me." So, come on in. So that was that's a problem that GIs have when they come out of the military and they go into the civilian community. You know, they're high responsibility, high expectations, fast paced, and then you go into the civilian community and it's not like that. Not always, you know. So, and you're the new guy all over again, the guy that nobody can trust and doesn't play nice with the other kids and all that stuff. So, I think that's why a lot of GIs go towards it, and they, you know, it's a good place to slow down and figure out what you're going to do. It's a good place. It was good for me. When I got here, I stayed here for quite a while and did not venture out very far, and I was just fine with that. But I'm good to go. I travel. I get on planes. I do anything I want now. I wasn't like damaged or anything that I know of. So thanks for asking, Brittany. And there was quite a few comments in there from people that I know. Robert Veronda said, "I'm a vet and you hit the nail on the head." Dave Allen, good friend of mine. "My wife, Amanda Allen, and I are both vets, and you are correct in your assessment." Andrew Cross. Well, Jeremy Huggins, I talked to him Saturday night. He's an Air Force personnel, and he is going to be leaving the Air Force, and he talked with me Saturday night about, you know, the direction that maybe he should go. We're trying to bring some camaraderie to the farming community. Call me on the phone and say, "What do you think I ought to do?" I'm not going to steer you wrong. I mean, I'm going to talk to you as though you were one of my children, and I'm going to tell you the straight poop, and that's what we do. Josh Cross, 8 years, U.S. Army, sappers lead the way. Is that so? And very accurate assessment. An aversion to following stupid orders and corruption becomes a natural reflex. Okay. Bob Reagan, DD-214 holder since 2014. The DD-214 is your discharge paperwork. And, you know, you get one of those when you get out. So it could say dishonorable discharge on it, though, too, Bob. But I doubt it. Okay, Brittany Annette Pierce said, "My husband since 2015. So I believe he got out in 2015, which is good on you. Thanks, you guys, for that. This is not an exclusively military place. Out of the 450 or so people that are in, I don't believe that maybe a very small percentage of us are. Am I supposed to show those off? Is that what that is? Okay.
Lorna is asking, what are your favorite Salatin books?
Okay. The next post was from Chad Van Tol, and this is one that I think bears looking at. It's got a picture. Let's see if I can do this. This would be so neat if I was able to put this picture on. Nah, it's not going to work. And there's a way to do that. We just don't have the technology at hand right now. James P. Okay, let me get this one out, Jim. I'm enjoying 512 square feet of summer in northern Michigan today. He's got this picture of a really sharp looking greenhouse with snow halfway up the windows and snow all around it. And then there's a picture of the thermometer, and it's 44 degrees outside and 90 degrees Fahrenheit inside. So this is a really neat looking greenhouse. And then he goes into quite a bit of detail about how he's built this and what he uses it for. And I'm not sure where he lives, but he's in northern Michigan, so he's close. But yeah, very neat. Very, very neat. It looks like he's actually growing stuff out in there in the wintertime, which is where I would like to be. I didn't have anything going in my greenhouse this year because I had other projects going on. Okay. Hey, can somebody do something about this dog? Somebody?
What?
Can someone do something about this dog out here? All right. There's a little bit more coming on the greenhouse later on in this, I believe. Okay, and then the next post. I have experience with this. This is Robert Veronda. Robert has been a friend on the virtual world here for probably 7 or 8 years. Been a long time. And he's also a Marine. And he says to me, well, not a good day. Had a stillborn goat, 1 down, 2 to go. And, the comments there were, oh, I'm so sorry, and all that. And it was nice. I mean, it's support. What can you say? I mean, if you're in farming, you're going to have failures like that. And unfortunately, a dead baby, anything, is heartbreaking. When you're nurturing life, you're going to have a certain number of them that don't make it. And, it's a good place to come and talk about it. So there was a lot of people saying, sorry to hear that. And I guess I said, that's farming, carry on. Because you have to prepare for that because it is going to happen, And I think farming toughens you up and helps you to kind of understand that, hey, this is going to happen. I made a video one time the night before. It was probably in January or February, and it was pretty cold out, and I had a sow that was cooperating. She went in a porta hut, and then the wind was coming out of the southwest, and so we moved her hut. We clocked it to the north so she'd have dead air inside there and plenty of straw, and had real good luck doing that. During the night, the wind swung around to the north, and it started to snow, and it was cold. It was, those times when it snows and it's cold. Most of the time when it snows, it's not that cold. This was one of those times. It snowed, and then it got extremely cold, and the snow stopped, but the wind kept up. So her hut blew full of snow, and then it was just like a blast freezer, and she had 6 or 8 really nice little pigs, and they just froze. So they were all cuddled up and everything, and they just froze. And no matter how close they got to her, they weren't going to make it, and they froze. So I made a video of it because I thought, it's kind of helpful. It was really disappointing to me. You get up in the morning, you say, "Ooh, I got something good to check on." And she was a good sow and she had some nice litters. And I thought she did good. We saved the day by reclocking that. And I went out and they were all dead. And sometimes that stuff like that happens and you want to say, how the hell with this? But a long time ago. And we're still going. So I'm sorry about that, Robert, but press on. And he says, definitely going to. All right, next. This is from Janet Blaze, and she's been a friend for a while. I don't think she's in the farming business, but she follows it pretty closely and probably does some stuff in her backyard. That's the feeling I get. I could be wrong. And the question is, does anybody use colloidal silver for animals or themselves? If you guys don't know about colloidal silver, you should do a search on it, a detailed study. Here are the answers. The first one was from, there was 20 comments. Holy smokes. See? Well, the first one, Inga Brummans is telling her daughter to look at this, so it must be good stuff. And then I have used it in liquid form and the lozenges I still use. Okay, cool. Good stuff. Jennifer Woodworth Johnson, old time friend from California, never met her. Ditto, I make my own. You see, now this would be a good opportunity for somebody to do a video of how to make this stuff and post it on here. My wife makes it, and the way she does it is she has a 9-volt battery and a wire off of each terminal that goes to a piece of silver, and that goes in water, right? And you put it in there and you hook it up and it bubbles. It may be more to it than that, all right? And it is useful for, it's an antibiotic, I guess. See, I don't know that much about it, but I know it is made in this house, and there is probably some around. Collodial silver. Okay. Lots of good information here. Yeah, here's some good. How to use colloidal silver for lung infections. Rachel says yes, but rarely. We rarely use it too. It's a biocide. It kills the good bacteria too. So I always have some on hand. Chelsea May, exactly. It should be used with respect. Rachel says they used to think it killed good bacteria, but found out it did not. I have used it for years, and my good bacteria is definitely intact. I never get sick. When they're talking about good bacteria and bad bacteria, I think a lot of people might be saying, "What? I thought all bacteria was bad." No, actually, it just depends on the organism that it is on. Some of it is very beneficial to it. And they figure that between our mouth and our back end, there's about 3 pounds of bacteria. And that is like our composting function. So the food goes in, we chew it up, we swallow it, goes in our stomach, it's all kind of broke down. And then the bacteria takes over from there, sort of like a compost pile. So if you do something to knock off a lot of your gut bacteria, you're hindering your digestion. And so that's what they're talking about, taking it internally, is it can hinder your digestion. And, you might want to be careful about that. I mean, you definitely want to be careful about that. All right, next. This is Jeremy Huggins. I spent an hour on the phone with him Saturday, getting ready to retire out of the Air Force. He's been in 25 years. I only stayed 20. He's still having a really good time. So he had questions about retirement versus working in the civilian world. If he would stay another 5 years, he could retire completely into the farm world. And I think he should think about that. And his question is, if you had the opportunity to farm anywhere in the US, where would you choose and why? I would counsel him to rephrase that. It's really not where, it's what do you want or what do you need? And I am assuming you're going to farm a piece of property. What do you need on there to have the most successful operation to be all you can be, right? What's going to help you in running a successful homestead, farmstead, small farm, even a big farm? What are the things that you need? And I had a farm out in Montana, 13-acre farm. Montana is dry, and I mean dry. But we happened to have a creek going through our property, so we were able to. I put a pump down there, and we used to pump water up all we wanted to irrigate. I wasn't as effective at it as I could have been. Like with what I've learned how to do here now, I could have really turned that little 13 acres into a little Garden of Eden, but I didn't know what I was doing. And now I have a little bit better idea of what I'm doing. What? Okay. So I would say to you, Jeremy, the first thing that you want to look at is water. So whatever state you go to, if it's a state that rains, you're ahead of the game. If it's a state that, like Montana, where I was on the eastern side of the divide, we get like 1 or 2 rainstorms a year, very little snow, and it was dry. So trying to do anything, you had to be on irrigation, and it was difficult if you weren't. Some of the property that had no irrigation or no water was kind of useless property, and it was very inexpensive. But if you come here, let's say, and water is really plentiful, then your property values are going to be up because agriculture can thrive. And plus we have a lot of precipitation, and it's not like the deluge and then nothing. We have a pretty even, moderate precipitation that's good for growing crops. So land around here is pretty expensive compared to $300 an acre land in Montana. So these things have to be weighed out. Where are you going to visit? Where are your parents? Where are her parents? I've farmed in Montana and I've farmed here in Michigan, and I like the people in Montana better than the people in Michigan. But we have the auto industry here that's really affected this area. It's sort of a union mentality that people have. But the precipitation is nice, so I can do better farming here than I ever could in Montana. You had to be born into it there practically to be able to work with it. And that's a deep subject. I don't know if anybody's got any input on that, but water is very, very important. And then fertility of your soil and some soil is just for fertile. You've had trees and a lot of leaves falling on it. This land here was woodland, and it was all the trees were taken off by the paper companies in the 1890s. And then this land was divided up and just given away in the 1900s to early 1900s to homesteaders. So this place, it's on the Brinks Road, and it was homesteaded by a guy named Ben Brinks, and he got this 80 and the 80 next door 160, and that was his homestead. So, all right, I'm going to move on to the next one, and this is a picture of Rachel Jameson showing off a picture of a half a gallon of milk, and you look at it and you say, cow's milk, but then she says, nope, goat's milk, raw goat's milk. I am not a big fan. I like cow's milk, but Rachel cannot tolerate the lactose in cow's milk. So goat's milk is what she really likes, and my wife likes it too. We had goats for a long time, and we got them because when you're weaning a baby off of its mother, a baby human, you can start them on goat's milk. But I was always worried that that goat was going to step on the baby's face. It's a joke. But I've told that joke so many times, I really enjoy that joke. Anyway, I'm going to move on. All right, the next one is from Deborah Evans, longtime friend. And she added some advertisements from way back with ham and leaf lard. And I didn't read it, actually. Okay, I haven't read it yet, so I can't really comment on it. So I'm going to have to leave it there, but it's from 1907, she says. All right. That's all I can comment on that. You guys are going to have to go and read it and see what you think of it, and maybe we can come back to it another time. And I'm going to apologize if I don't see something as like, whoo, we got to spend some time on this. If I don't see it, I don't see it. Okay, so Deborah, you can beat me up on here if I'm missing something. The next one we go to is Laura the Green Bean, and this is a friend of mine. She showed up here one day when we were butchering chickens, and this Audi pulls into the driveway, a convertible, and this woman steps out and she's like, hi, and I'm got an apron on that's all covered with blood, and hi. And so she said, well, I'm Laura Green, and I'm here to take a tour of your farm. I said, oh, well, okay. And luckily we were just getting done. So I showed her around, and she says to me, well, I live on Beaver Island. And I said, Beaver Island? I don't know anything about Beaver Island. Well, it's an island, a pretty good sized island in Lake Michigan. And Lake Michigan is, the closest one that I'm to. And so I got kind of interested in that. And she said, you'll have to come over. And so her and her husband live over there. They have a pretty good sized farm. I think they have 30 or 40 acres. And they're doing all kinds of stuff. But their main thing is they grow foxes. They grow foxes, and then they harvest the foxes, and they have a shop, and they make stuff out of the hides. Really cool. Anyway, we went and spent a couple days there, and they want to develop some other things. And I said, well, if she wants to get into pigs, she works as a waitress on the island, and there's no place for the garbage to go. So they got some pigs. We lined them out with some pigs, brought them out there. Been out there 3 times now. Really like it out there. Beautiful. And so she put up a video with her pigs and the area that they have and all that stuff. And I don't know. It's just fun. She named them. And I'm looking at this video and I'm thinking, there's going to be a hole in your heart when those things are in the freezer. And that is natural. And then the next time it's not so bad. But we're hoping to go over there and do a hog harvest class. We're hoping to do that. Okay, the next thing comes from Deborah Evans as well. And I just read it real quick. It was about the 217th anniversary of the landmark case of Marbury versus Madison. And this has to do with the Constitution and rules or laws that are not constitutional. We're under no obligation to do anything with those. And I'm not going to comment on this right now because I haven't read it completely, but it's a great story and I recommend getting into it. And then we come to the very last one. And this is a new guy, and his name is Merwin's Art. So I don't know if that's his name or not, but he's put some pretty cool stuff up. And this one is a study that talks about Japanese knotweed as the key to fighting ticks. So here in Michigan, where I am, we don't have a huge problem with ticks. I mean, they're around, but it's not like in New England where you just go out and walk around and you've got ticks on you. And the ticks carry Lyme disease, which is a real tough go. One of my good friends had it, and it took him a while to work his way through it. And it was very, very tough to get through. Yeah, so I didn't read this article yet. I mean, you can see that that's a lot of stuff in just a couple of days. Well, I think that's probably 2 days. And so tomorrow night won't be quite so bad. We can keep up on that. And let's see, we're at an hour and 16 minutes. And I think it went pretty good. A lot of watch time, 32 people. 30 thumbs up. I don't know how accurate that is. I really have no idea whether it's 32 people or 32,000. I really have no idea. Okay. All right. Is there any questions? I will take a few questions. Let me scroll back down through this. No, I don't see any questions. All right. All right. Well, we'll call it good then. There was one story that I wanted to tell you. Oh yeah. A good NCO uses whatever resources he has at his disposal, right? And that's kind of I don't know, some sort of creed, people will say kind of tongue in cheek if you do something and you have to kind of engineer something in a certain way just to make it work, right? So one time I worked in a building that was adjacent to the athletic field, and somebody had to go out there and turn the water on to sprinkle the field. And my boss asked me, "You think you can figure out how to do that?" Because it was some other squadron that was supposed to do it, and they weren't doing it. And anyway, so I went out there and I looked it over, and sure enough, yeah, there was a bunch of irrigation pipes. And now I'm active duty at the time. This is years ago. This is probably 2002 or 2002. And I'm in Montana. And so I figure out how to do this. I can set the pipes up, and then you hook them to an end. And then there's a wrench that you put down in the hole, and you turn this thing on, and the water comes on. Beautiful. Everybody thinks I'm a hero. And so he says to me, "Show these two how to do it." And so there was 2 airmen there. They didn't work for me. They worked for him, and they were not good airmen. They were kind of punks. And one of them was a female, and she was the bigger punk of the 2. And so he says, "Take them out there with you and show them how to do this." And I said, "All right." So when I got him, and I said, "You guys come with me." So they're walking out, and of course they're walking about 4 steps behind me just to be a pain. And as we're walking out, we're coming up under the goalpost, and on the 40-yard line, actually on the 40-yard line, there was a gopher sitting there. Like they're actually ground squirrels, Richardson ground squirrels, but everybody calls them gophers. And the place was loaded with them because you couldn't do anything on the base. You couldn't be shooting guns or anything like that. And so just about that time, there was a rock standing in front of me, and I have a real history of hitting things at long distances with rocks. So I stooped over and I picked up the rock, and I turned around and I look at these 2 punks, and they look at me with kind of like foreboding in their eyes. And then I went back and I hucked that rock, and I'm watching that rock. I had a good arm. And here it comes down. Boom, 40 yards right on this gopher that's about the size of a squirrel, right? Nail him. And then he's laying on the ground there and he's doing the cucaracha, you know. I hit him hard, but he's, you know, got nerves that are making him dance around and stuff. And so I go walking up to him, and he's still moving around, and these 2 airmen, especially the female, is looking at me like I'm some sort of brute. And I looked at them, and I stepped on the squirrel to put him out of, or the gopher to put him out of his misery. And then I looked at those 2 airmen and I said, now let that be a lesson to you. I was kidding them. I was just kidding them. I mean, here we are in the business that we were in, and they couldn't take a joke like that. And the female dropped her hat on the ground and went storming back to the base, or back to the building that my boss worked in. And I said, hey, get back here. She just kept going. Right? So she was from California. So anyway, she told my boss what I did, that I had killed this poor creature. And my boss said, yeah, that's what you do with gophers. And then that wasn't good enough, so she went to the squadron commander. And he wasn't too sympathetic about it either, but every time she told somebody, she was telling them, Sergeant Baker threw a rock, and he threw it 40 yards, like that made me a worse person, you know? And she finally wound up at the wing commander's office, but they wouldn't let her in to see the wing commander, but she told the secretary, and the wing commander was like, get out of here. So later on, I was at the gym, and the wing commander was there, and I just happened to be on a machine, and he got on a machine next to me, and he says, how you doing, Baker? And I said, good. He says, tell me something. Is that true that you hit a gopher at 40 yards with a rock? I said, yes, sir, it is. He says, I said, sir, a good NCO learns to use anything that's at his disposal. And he says, yeah. Anyway, that's my story, my gopher story. Guess we'll call it good there. I'm not going to belabor that point any longer. This went well. We will see you tomorrow night, and we will press on more stuff on the tribe. Please, if there's any pertinent questions or information that needs to be passed on, by all means, bring it to the tribe, and we will talk about it. Anyone can farm.